Okay, next Netflix Wes Anderson short, The Swan. I'm unfamiliar with most of these Roald Dahl stories, by the way. This is like a first time reacting to the narrative too.
Ernie had been given a rifle for his birthday. He took the gun and a box of bullets and went out to see what he could kill. Outside
Oh,
Raymond's house,
hunting for a swan is called The
his mouth
Swan.
and gave a long, shrill whistle. Raymond was Ernie's best friend. He lived 4 doors.
I do really love this narration style.
Gripes, said Raymond. We can have some fun with that.
Throwing in the accents. Aren't swans protected? You can't hunt the swan, can you?
Peter Watson jumped. He stared through his spectacles at the two intruders. Ernie shouted, "Pick 'em up!" Peter Watson stood quite still, holding the binoculars in front of him.
Unfazed, actually.
He had suffered a good deal from their attentions over the years. Hands up. It was the only sensible.
Okay, already being bullied by them.
He could shout for help, but there was no one to hear him. All he could do, therefore, was to keep calm and try to talk his way out of the situation. A male green woodpecker, Picus viridis. He was tapping the trunk of that old dead tree, searching for grubs. Where is he, Ernie?
Oh, we're gonna shoot it, yeah.
Watson said, looking at the string of tiny birds slung over Raymond's shoulder. He flew off the moment you shouted. Woodpeckers are extremely timid.
But this one feels the most distant, like narratively, you know? We're getting it all through the narration, barely even seeing what they're describing.
And laid him lengthwise between the tracks. These tracks right here. These tracks right here. This happened to me 20 years ago. My name is Peter Watson.
Oh, that's him. Okay, that makes sense. Well, we know he survives.
When they had finished, Peter Watson was strung down helpless, tied.
Okay, that adds a bit. Hit the narrator being Peter himself.
Depends how much clearance I'm trying to get underneath. You keep down flat, you might just get away with it.
And it makes sense, the mocking accents that he does now as well.
Peter Watson knew now they were not going to release him. These were dangerous, crazy boys. Dangerous, crazy, stupid boys.
Yeah, that's the worst, the unpredictability of people when you're dealing with people who are malicious like that.
He wondered for a moment whether there might be any kind of vacuum created underneath the train as it rushed over him, sucking him up.
Oh, damn, yeah, that's a good point.
Quite suddenly, he heard a curious little vibrating sound coming from the rails on either side of him. It was very soft, scarcely audible, a tiny thrumming whisper.
It's approaching.
At first it was only a black dot, but in those few seconds he kept his head raised. The dot grew bigger and bigger and began to take shape and was no longer a dot, but instead the big square blunt front end.
Nice, I was waiting for him to pull the next one in.
He shut his eyes tight and pressed his body into the ground. The train came on with an explosive blast. Like a gun went off in his head.
That was cool. The wheat going.
Raymond cut the strings around his ankles. Oh, you're still a prisoner, matey, Ernie said. The two bigger boys marched peacefully.
Yeah, not letting him free yet, of course.
The prisoner's wrists were still tied together in front of him.
The stairs, the railway stairs, yeah.
Peter Watson turned and saw it at once. A nest consisting of a huge pile of reeds and rushes that rose up 2 feet above the waterline.
Oh, there's the swan.
This is a bird sanctuary, said Peter, stammering. A what? Asked Ernie. Peter felt a wild rage beginning to build up inside him.
Oh, yeah.
Swans are the most protected birds in England. And
Yeah, exactly.
Please don't do it. You can't do it. Please don't do
The
it.
rage building up.
The bullet hit the swan in the middle of her elegant head and her
wow.
white neck sank slowly.
I love that, the emotion coming into the narration there as well. Just disgust.
Any eggs? Ernie shouted from the bank. No. Peter answered, nothing.
Or maybe he saved the eggs.
His eyes, still wet with tears, were blazing with fury. It's you who ought to be dead, he said.
Oh,
Ernie seemed just a tiny...
is he black for a funeral there?
Ernie turned the swan over and severed the other wing. String.
Okay.
Holding out his hand to Raymond.
I was thinking, oh, giving him the
Cut
wings.
8 pieces, each about a yard long. He tied the bits...
I was thinking, are we going to see a scar on the future one?
Stick out your arms.
It wasn't something I noticed.
Ernie clapped his hands and danced a little jig on the grass.
Okay.
What you're going to do, Mr. Swan, is climb up to the very top of this tree, and when you get there, you're going to spread out your wings and take off.
Fantastic, cried Raymond. The thought of
At least the water there will catch him.
hooligans appealed to Peter Watson greatly.
Yeah, get away from them.
Stay up there. He doubted very much they would bother to come up after.
They've got the gun though.
He stood there resting after the climb. He was very high up, at least 50 feet. He couldn't see the two boys.
That stop
They were
motion they've
alongside
added?
this. Peter Watson remained absolutely still. Nothing would make him move from now on. 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
Peter Watson. He heard the crack of the rifle and the zip of the bullet as it whistled past his head.
Just missed.
It was a frightening thing, but he still... Last chance, yelled Ernie. Next one's gonna get you. Peter waited. He watched the boy among the buttercups in the meadow far below.
Or did he know they wouldn't actually kill him?
This time he heard the crack. At the same instant, the bullet hit him in the thigh. There was no
Oh.
pain. Of it was devastating. It was as though someone had whacked him on the leg with a
So he did
sledgehammer
fall
and
in?
it knocked-
Ooh, target there for a split second.
There are others, however, though they are not many, who will for some reason always be unconquerable.
Wow, yeah.
Them in time. They have an indomitable spirit, and nothing, neither pain nor torture nor threat of death, will cause them to give up.
Enduring on.
It came to him suddenly that he was going to win. The light was beckoning him, drawing him on, and he dived towards the light.
And he flew, yeah.
3 different people reported seeing a great white swan circling over the village that morning. "My darling," she cried, "my darling boy."
Like I was seeing it as that older him as well. Oh, inspired by a newspaper account. Kept it for 30 years before writing the actual story, wow. Okay, so that was the Swan. I really love that the twist there was that Peter was the one narrating himself. I think it added another layer of depth here that probably would have been missing if it was just someone narrating this story, because as I said, it felt quite distant, the narration, compared to what we were physically seeing. We were just kind of physically not seeing much, you know, Peter walking alongside the narrator, holding the bird, them getting his hands tied up. But once you find out that Peter himself is the narrator grown up, it adds a whole nother layer. And I think as you go on further, the visuals kind of ramp up a bit with the train going over. That was really cool. Seeing the blades of grass like fall with the wind, that was really cool. And yeah, just quite a simple story of bullying and indomitable human spirit overcoming that. Peter was like small and frail, but still overcame them and flew in the end, even though we don't see any of that. But that was really cool. And there is something really scary about people who have like, who you can't reason with when they're bullies like that and you can't reason with them. There's something really terrifying about that, knowing there's no one around to help and you just kind of have to go along and keep calm and keep them calm from doing anything. I can understand why that's so scary for little Peter there. And then, you know, there's just the complete disrespect for life and wildlife and the swans as protected creatures here in the UK. I thought there might have been something with them asking him to check if there were eggs and him saying no. I thought maybe, or there would be eggs and he says there wasn't, and kind of hid them away and helped raise them or something along those lines. But that wasn't a way the story went. But, you know, it being set like on a nature reserve as well for the birds, and Peter enjoying bird watching, them being the antithesis of that, with going out and killing the birds to make for great rivals for him, don't they? And there'd been bullies of him before by the sounds of it as well, so it's something he's used to. But I think the end is the real highlight there. Roald Dahl himself just saying to camera, you know, when pressure comes, there are people who crumble and there are people who don't. And some people have this indomitable human spirit and are untouchable. Once fully pushed, they will like stand up and rise above it. And that was a really cool moment. And Peter does that himself. Really cool stuff. So thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my playlist for all the other Wes Anderson shorts and the rest of his films as reactions as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Catch you guys later.